This show should not be called Erased, but instead, let's call it Cliffhangers because that right there is what we get every single week. And I am praying to God that, this right here will not be our third time, witnessing, Kayo's death because that right there would just be, way too cruel. But you do have to wonder who in the role was at the end because how in the role would the killer even know where she was. And that right there, made me think, that day that we saw Satoru, running from Yuki's house. And obviously he had more of the killer because we all know that a killer, plans this kill, on Yuki. So I was thinking maybe that killer, saw Satoru. Obviously, Satoru is definitely bringing a lot of attention to himself just because of the way he's acting now. And maybe the killer, could possibly be following him, from now on. But at the same time, we have Kenya who's also watching Satoru as well, and so maybe this killer was like watching them both. But we see that when the episode started off, it obviously, picked up from last week where we have Satoru being arrested, and we now have the police, taking him away, and that's when, that's when Satoru finally sees the real killer, and once again we cannot see his face, but this guy just has like this devilish grin, all on his face. And so right now Satoru, definitely knew who it was, and we see now that for the first time, Satoru, he was like actually able, to like make himself, have a revival, because that right there is like what he wanted so badly. And so now this time when he went back, we see that, that the, now I'm not sure what day that was, but it was when he had that date with Kayo, and they went to like that, it wasn't exactly a museum, but you guys know, what I'm referring to. And so once they were there, we pretty much get the aftermath for that, when Satoru's friends, had like came up, and slowly but surely, time here, it was definitely going along the same tracks as the first time he came here. But of course, there were like some certain changes, and that right there is what I mainly want to talk about in this review. If the news that happened this time in the past. And so at one point we have Kenya. Kenya has told Satoru about some book that he had lent him, and he wants Satoru to read it. But we see now that when Satoru had like went to school that day and told Kenya that he lost it, that right there is where Kenya told him that that book never existed in the first place. And so right now, him and we have Satoru and Kenya, they go out in the hall, and they start talking. And Kenya, this guy, like I said, he is way too smart for his own good, and that right there does worry me. But we see that, that while they were talking, Kenya has definitely noticed, all the changes in Satoru, because Kenya also knew that, like, Kayo, he knew that she being abused, but there was nothing he could do about it. But when Satoru, has saw that, Kenya was like, he has saw, just this, like, determined look, pretty much possess him. And we see, Satoru, he was able to make all these changes while Kenya could do nothing and just watch him from afar. And that right there, made Kenya, like really wonder who in the world is he, because it seemed that, he was like somebody else. I believe his direct words were another personality was added, and that right there, is definitely true. And so right now, his answer for Kenya about who he was, he was saying how like he was a superhero, and right now he kind of is, because of course he had the power to like go back in the past and possibly change things, and this right here, it's like his final time doing it. So Satoru definitely is, like a superhero. And that right there, made Kenya laugh, and he also realized that, like, even though this right here, might be a different Satoru. It's still the one that I know. And so right now we have Kenya, now helping him, and that right there was like definitely nice to see. But unfortunately, when both of them had like went back to class, they actually got in trouble because their teacher was like going on with the lesson, and of course, they had missed it. And so right now we have them, right now we have like carrying out their punishment where they had to hold these buckets of water, and we have the rest of the class, laughing at them. And so now, with like time still going on, like normally we have we have Satoru, telling them, at the end of the day that he has something to do, and we see now that he told, Kenya, Kayo, Hiromi, and all the other friends to like go to like this children, center. And so we see now that the reason why Satoru, had something to do, it was because he actually wanted to give Yuki, an alibi. And so right now, where we have Satoru and Yuki, hanging out, we have Satoru asking him a question about their father, and that right there wasn't weird. But when Satoru had brought up Kayo, we see Yuki here definitely get like some jitters, because this guy, he was like moving a lot. His eyes were like bouncing everywhere. Something definitely, wasn't right with him. And so right now, I was kind of worried, it's possible that, Yuki might be the real killer, because to me, he seemed definitely, kind of like off his rocker a little bit. But luckily, he was just so happy that, Kayo was actually able to get some friends, because of course when Yuki would talk to her, Kayo was alone, and now that Kayo is like part of this group, that right there, is definitely fantastic news. And so we see that after Satoru, had left Yuki house, obviously now his real plan was now into motion, and right now he was like wondering, when the world could the killer be, because obviously they must know where Yuki is, so that way they can like plant this crime on him. And so we see that afterwards, time, or we see now time had changed some, where we have Satoru, going to the children's center, because, in the past, him and Kayo, came here to like play some kind of game. I forgot what it was called. But this time, because there were like so many people there, they had no choice but to play a game that would involve more of them, and that right there was like basketball. And so now we see that, going forward a bit, when it was now, March 1st, this right here was like X Day, last time. Or no, I believe March 2nd was X Day last time. But we see now, once again, it was Satoru's and Kayo's birthday. Of course, they had went to her for that little party. But we see now that afterwards, the one thing that was different was that Satoru, he actually left in the middle of that, is because he had to like not only did he give Yuki an alibi by like slashing the tires of his father's truck and their bicycles, but he also made a little note saying I'll kill you, and of course he like put a rock on that and wrapped it up, and we see him now breaking the window, because obviously because of that they would have no choice but to like call the cops, and we see now that when the cops went there, they would see that Yuki was there, and obviously if him or her father were the killer, there would be no way they would risk going out, especially when the cops going in previously. And so after that, we have Satoru kind of like telling Kayo's mother, and this time we have her like crossing like a bridge. And so we see that like Satoru, he was actually going to do the unthinkable, because we see now that when Kayo's mother was like going down these steps, Satoru was like definitely going to push her down. He was like very, very serious about that, and that right there was like definitely concerning, that a little kid, now I understand that in his mind he is 29, but a little kid doing this to me, it just seemed so messed up. But luckily we have Kenya, because he actually came there and stopped him, and so we learn now, Kenya, he had been following Satoru for these last 2 days because of course, Satoru seemed more different than normal. And so right now, Satoru, he was like going to cross a line that there would be no way he could turn back from. But of course he didn't care because, right now, in mind he thinking, he does not care if he get caught, if the cops lock him up, because this right here, it's what he must do, to like make sure Kayo come out of this alive, because that right there, anything happened to Satoru would be a lot better than, the Kayo dying. And Satoru was like, or Kenya said that of course if Satoru, got locked up, that right there would be very devastating to his mother. And Satoru was like, no, she would like tell me well done. And just like how Kenya said, he could believe that, at the same time I can too. And so now back at their party, it was now over, and we have, Satoru getting ready to walk Kayo home. But this time he actually had on his own gloves and a jacket, because last time he had walked out there in the cold. But we learned now, Satoru was like, what would you do, or how would you feel, if I abducted you right now? And so Kayo, she was like fine with that. And so we see now that like Satoru, he had took her to somewhere in the forest. I believe it was by, some kind of school, because we see Satoru take her to some abandoned bus. And this bus right here used to be used by a school, but because they got a new one, this right here was like used for storage. And so because of that right there would be a good hiding spot, for Kayo, because that way she would not have to go home and deal, with her abusive mother. And so right now, because of that, like they were going to hide her out here. We have, Kenya helping as well, and things seem to be, like working out by pretty good actually, because we have Satoru saying like he would come back in the middle of the night to check on her, and she wouldn't know that by knocking 3 times. And so right now, we have Kayo thanking them. And right now, King was like, we're friends. And what did Satoru say? Like right now, I forgot, but obviously, it was definitely something pretty cute, because we have, Satoru and Kenya, teasing each other a little bit, while they were like walking back. And so right now, when Satoru had went home, obviously his mother had recognized something was like definitely, like something was up. She definitely recognized that right off the bat, because we see now that when Satoru, had got up to actually go to, to go see Kayo, his mother was up. And to be honest, I'm like somewhat surprised that, that his mom did not follow him, because to me that right there would have made a lot of sense, because she could have went there and and brought them both back, and and possibly kept her hidden and safe, because to me that right there would be a win-win. But at the same time, if the cops would have came there and saw Kayo, his mother probably would have got arrested, so maybe that's why it didn't work out that way. But regardless, we have Satoru going there. They were eating together, and eventually they had fell asleep, and that right there was cute. Seeing them wake up like that, it was just so freaking adorable. But obviously, Satoru and Kenya, they had to go to school, and so right now their teacher was like, Kayo is late, and so right now, like during their lunch break, I believe that their teacher was like calling, Kayo's mother. But right now, there are certain things that are definitely, different from the last time, Satoru was here. Like, Kayo's mother never called Satoru's mother. She also has not called the cops yet. Obviously, her mother has not abused Kayo and left her in that shed, so that way she could be kidnapped. So right now, things here are definitely entering, new territory. But right now, because Kayo has been gone for more than a day, her mother will now have not much of a choice but to actually call the cops now. And so we see that, that afterwards, once again, we have, Satoru we have Kenya, and obviously Kayo, and we also have their trap friend, as I now call him, because like I said, I always thought that right there was a girl, but no, that's a boy. So obviously he's a trap kind of character. But they were all playing cards inside that bus, and so we see now, they were all like working on their next move, because obviously now things are like definitely picking up here. And so Sartre was like, he will like go by Kayo's house tomorrow. And so right now, with the police being there, they were hoping to expose her mother to the abuse. And so right now they were like wondering what in the world would happen to the end. And so right now they wasn't sure, but then we have Kayo who said if she possibly, told them that like she had went to their friends for help, and obviously they helped her, then no one, would be to blame. And at the same time, she actually won their little card game. And this right here, I will say, is like one of the rare instances where we have, Kayo smiling. So her character, like I said, like Kayo's character had been changing throughout this entire series. Like, she used to be so freaking gloomy, and now she's happy, smiling like a regular girl. But unfortunately, that following night where we have Kayo sleeping, we then have someone, like obviously, it was probably the killer, but we have the killer finding the bus and going inside, and once again we get that god dang it cliffhanger ending. But obviously now, we have no choice but to like wait for next week. But like I said, there is no way they will like kill off Kayo again. They better not, otherwise we have, a serious problem. But as always, let me know what you guys thought. I thought the episode was fantastic. Like as always, this series, it had been, nothing but amazing. So of course, like me rating it, I give it an amazing. Obviously at the end, I probably will give it, a number of you. But like I said, every episode so far has been nothing short but fantastic. As always, don't forget to like and subscribe, because it really helps me out. And as always, you guys take it easy, and I will see you all next time.